Hello, hello, hello. This is Happy Valley Hobbies, and these are hobbies that make me happy. Apparently, right now, uh, when I logged on here, I guess there's a new thing of being able to add intros and outros. Um, it's one of those things I still haven't. I got the, I got everything. The idea for intro and outro intro and an outro already planned and all that. Even got some of the pieces of I guess it's called film. Already uh, oh, it's definitely allergy season. Um, Yep, pretty much up and ready to go. I just gotta finish up everything and sort of, pretty much copy it. Sorry about that. Um, I have had I think it was well, on the job hunting front, I did have if I remember correctly, I had a phone call interview and a Zoom call interview for a local college. Up next is going to be, I guess, if they decide to go with me with a in-person interview. So, well, maybe by next week I'll be employed. Who knows? There's I would have to say there might be a bunch of signs that might be pointing into to that, but I don't know if that's wishful thinking and superstition on my plan or divine intervention. I don't know, but I've sort of set myself a deadline with the broad gauge. I want to see about getting it to the Great Train Extravaganza. That's the beginning of December. So right now I'm going to be concentrating on the layout itself for a short time, making sure everything's electrically correct, and maybe even start slopping some scenery on it. Because right now I'm just tired of trying to get the locomotive to work properly. Getting it. I didn't get it quartered over the week because, well, I'm concentrating on getting employed. But with no one in the chat, just as I say, no one's in the chat. Hot dog Andy, the hot dog pilot Andy shows up. So thank you for showing up, Andy. I know it's very late in the day for you, but I believe you also do Sidetrack Sunday, which is even this is the unauthorized, possibly illegal pre-show for Sidetrack Sunday, which I believe is raised this week on Ray's channel. So yeah, I'm gonna concentrate on the layout right now, and then hello, Train Buff Boy 47. Nice to meet you also. Yeah, deep morning. It's not afternoon, it's deep morning. It's one of those things, it's like the late show. Hello there, Valley 56. Oh, well, thank you for coming in, Train Buff Boy. Randall has a tendency to pop in a lot. I'm a very small channel. I only have just over 100 people. And Dan's Modeler Journey is here. And speaking of Randall, there he is. So yeah, I'm sort of the. That will change quickly. Okay then. Would that be the change of your friendship with Randall, or? But yeah, I would have to say I'm sort of surprised that there are some people here that are. Oh, your subs, gotcha. Now I've been doing it for about over two. I think I'm coming up on the 3 years. I think I started. It was January 22, I believe. But yeah, modeling is very popular. One of the things I was planning on this channel, which hasn't really happened at this time, is that the reason why I call it Hobby Valley Hobbies instead of Hobby Valley Railroad is that I have hobbies that are model train adjacent also, which is electronics, computers. I'm starting to get into a little bit of machining and stuff like that because I'm doing something that not many people do, and you just can't buy. You just can't really buy the stuff off the internet because except for one club that I know of that's in Britain and somebody else that's doing the Lehigh Valley, no one else is doing broad gauge. Technically, O gauge is technically broad gauge. That's HO. I guess that's a lot of them consider that HOW5 because three rail track is 5 foot, is technically 5 foot gauge in the scale in that the 1/48 scale. But I'm doing HOW6. Now the W part is not official. The NMRA standards does not have W. They have narrow gauge, which is small n. But I think the Proto 48 fans start using the OW5 is to differentiate Proto 47 from O gauge. Instead of writing out O gauge, or I would assume it was set up so they would be more in line on how the other nomenclature is. And I guess they decided to go with W instead of B. My assumption is because W means wide, and W is wider than N. Whereas N is a very narrower word than the W is. That's my assumption. But in that case, then let me switch cameras, and we'll go with. I actually have 3 cameras, and that is correct. Yeah, there is a club in the UK that does I think they call it the Vernell gauge. They don't call it 7 foot, but it's all done with Vernell. Interesting though, they didn't do. They don't do the pneumatic portion. that might be interesting to see, but not quite sure how well they'll be able to regulate it because there's not enough. Physics is always there, but the thing is, once you start shrinking things down in 3 dimensions, things in 2 dimensions are not going to be as quick, and also trying to think now. Then, of course, when you get in the single dimension, it gets things. So the physics is still there, but the numbers get to the point where they're below noise level. Yeah, scaling is tough. That's one of the first model trains and all that. They were designed more for reliability than accuracy. That's why you got the O gauge. I think O gauge, 1 gauge, and I think all the higher ones that are up there, they usually have almost like pizza cutter wheels and all that because they're designed more for reliability. Same, you get same thing with some of the older HO scale and N scale stuff. I mean, the flanges on them are like pizza cutters, and some of the older stuff can't even run on modern track because modern track is not as in HO scale. They had the standard was code 100, and then they went to code 83 to make it a little bit more realistic. And I myself, I've gone all the way down to code you still see you still see echoes, even broad gauge in the United States. General Electric in Schenectady, New York, actually has a. They usually design their stuff to go south and then connect with the former Erie lines, mainly because that was all 6-foot gauge, and with the wider gauge, just like with the narrow gauge, the loading gauge itself changes. And that's why that's why also there's a lot of times at the Delaware Hudson they can still run south of Schenectady to Birmingham. The reason why they can still operate the it's easier for them to run the double stacks and all that because the loading gauge was larger, and they went through some in some cases very substantial tunnels, but the thing is they didn't have to. All right, train boy, we'll be here until 6:45 or 7:45, sorry. And how they were able to do double stacks, what they did is they took the 2-track tunnel and they made a 3rd track that went in between the 2 rails, and just lowered it a little bit and all that so they can get the double tracks. That's the double stacks through, and that's the only I guess modifications they had to make to be able to do double stacks through there. And I think all the tunnels are set up that way. Whereas other railroads either restricted so they couldn't use double over height equipment, or they found ways to rebuild whatever they were going over larger. Yes, Ireland and Austria is 5'3". I think India has 5'6", because all right. Thank you for coming back. With India, also has a whole bunch of gauges, and I think they also have 5'6", because if I remember correctly, India has what they call the oldest continuously operating locomotive in the world, which is named the Fairy Queen. Now, if you understand the history of the Fairy Queen, you might be going like, there's technically it's sort of like the sheep of what is it, Thesis? It's like where they keep on replacing the ship with new parts, and then it's like it becomes, okay, when does the ship become a new ship? Or if you're taking the old parts and you're building a new, rebuilding the ship with all the old parts, which is then the original, which is the original ship. And I think that's what has happened with the Fairy Queen, because parts over the years are wear out. So I'm assuming not a single moving part is original. Plus, I've heard other stories that there was one time it was in storage and parts were stolen off of it, and so the stolen parts are obviously replaced. Like a broom, every bit replaced. Yep, that's what my assumption is. I guess there's a sister engine, which is 30 racks of interiors room. Gotcha. But yeah, I've heard other. What's another one? I almost want to say it's slightly. To me, it sounds slightly derogatory, but an Irish hammer. It's only had 2 new heads and 3 new handles. So it's. But that particular locomotive is 5'6", and when you look at the track and all that, I mean, it looks short and very wide. Also, there are things that are on it that are not original, like the electric. Exactly, Valley. Still my grandfather's hammer. But then it's got full electrical system, with a dynamo and everything, complete with radio. I think it has air brakes, which back in 1855 they didn't have any. So there's a lot of modern stuff on there. So it's a working engine. Now it's a tourist engine, but it was a working engine for a good portion of its career. And it's sort of a little on the funny side when it's pulling a carriage and all that. Try flying Scotland's for size. But all right, nice and good going, Randall. Yeah, I think snow plows in my era were still separate. Well, hello there, Steam Mills Modeling. Thank you for coming back. Yeah, it's one of those things that'd be interesting. How would they do that locomotive though? Because it is broad gauge, and Yeah, little canopy glue does work wonders, and it also helps if you can't if you wind up getting a little bit too much. It dries clear, and hopefully it's not as obvious that it's there. But one thing, if I remember, yeah, well, canopy blue starts out white, so you can keep on cleaning it until all the white goes away. But if there is a little white left, it sort of disappears. But and another interesting thing is that the Fairy Queen actually sounds like a modern locomotive, complete with the dynamo, which is not original. Yep, it's absolutely amazing. It depends on the application. Like every glue for what it's being used for is amazing if it's used correctly, or it winds up being used in a situation that it's better. It's better for the situation. Yeah, it's better than CA for especially what you were doing. You were going plastic on plastic. Canopy blue is really sticky. Takes a long time it's a lot long time to dry than CA. It depends on what you're doing and what compromises you need to make. Ooh, and that also helps micro brushes. A lot of times I use toothpicks. But yeah, I think they're in my time period, which is 1876. I think most snowplows were not. They never put. As far as I know, they never put a plow on the locomotive itself. I think they were still using gondolas and flat cars. I don't. It's one of those things I don't. Yep, it's one of those things of if time's not an issue, you just put it on there and have it set down. Primitive tool called a stick. Well, I hope steel mill that you taken the bark off of it. But yeah, as you can see, I'm trying to think of Valleys 56. Have you been on here before? I mean, I've seen you around, but I don't think I've actually seen you here. Yeah, it's likely not an issue. Well, my thought would be to just put it on the track, have it go around the track once or twice, and then if there's okay, so you are new here, all right? Yeah, because I've seen you Valleys in other streams, and I think there's sometimes when someone says put on Valley and they don't put Happy or 56 on there. It's like, well, I'm like, okay, who are they talking to? Now, what does here is a question for you, Valleys. What does the 56XX stand for? Well, hello there, Kyle. Thank you for coming in. Yeah, the thing is, I got the camera selected for for the next. You get around. Yeah, basically, oh, you have to be at the club layout. Gotcha. All right. Yes, that is a. It's the reality of things. There's a lot of times that you don't know how well it's going to work until you go live. And I think Dan was nervous for the longest time to go live and all that. It's like, you can have it all set up as much as you want and all that, but until you hit that live button, you don't know what's going to go awry. And especially when you're doing it for the first time, you might have a setting that's not quite right. So, okay. Ugly and Strong. Well, Chris, is that the a comment of you also, Ugly and Strong? Yeah, that is a possible, Randy. That if something's loose, if there's something loose, and then all of a sudden, it used to be. But yeah, I'm not the. I'm definitely not GQ cover. Yeah, GQ cover material. But all right, well, let me switch cameras, and we'll continue with the layout. As I, for those who didn't hear me before, is that I'm planning on exhibitioning this layout and locomotive and layout at the Great Train Extravaganza, which is going to be in Albany, New York, in the first. I think it's the second Sunday this year, because it's because the way the calendar is, it's too close to Thanksgiving. So I guess this year it's like once in every 7 years they move it, and because it winds up getting the calendar winds up just getting too close to Thanksgiving. So this is the 1 in 7th year that it gets changed. So if anyone's in the Albany, New York area, or relatively close to that area, within, I would say within 3 or 4 hours, if you want to drive that far, come on up, and it's underground. It's underground parking, and I think actually this year, because they've moved the day, I think they possibly might have moved the tree lighting. They have a tree lighting every year, which gets annoying at the end, because we're trying to get out, and there people want to see the tree lighting are coming in. So power bond, okay. All right, interesting. I never used power bond. I don't know if it's available on this side of the pond, but yeah, I would have to. Talking about idioms, I was actually surprised to find out that using the pond for the Atlantic Ocean is common in the U.S. and in the British Isles. Because I had a coworker one time that was they were in the Air Force, Her Majesty's Royal Air Force, and I turned around and I asked him, it's like, what brings him to the United States? And he turned around and said, "Oh, a local gal." Now I slightly understand the British humor. It's like, being understated. So I'm like, define local, because local from the European view could be California, which is nowhere near Vermont. But to find out that no, it was somebody from the Albany, New York area. And well, let's say we switch over to the been waffling on for a half an hour. All right, now as I said, well, I'm in the process of getting this layout ready for. Okay, that's the reason why I got it that way. Ready for the Great Train Extravaganza. Let's clock the relatively remind me of when to start getting ready to pack up and all that. But as you can see, the track over here is the regular broad gauge, complete with a gauntlet track down here. And then this is dual gauge. The smaller gauge is standard. Which right now I have no equipment. No equipment right now that's broad gauge. I'm in the process of making this in the broad gauge. I was able to last time get the washers to keep the wheels from flopping around, but right now I'm just going to concentrate on the layout itself. Yeah. Well, I would have to say when it's one of those things of when it comes to accents, not many people realize they have their own accent. I mean, I have a well, I have a story about accents. All right, that's gonna go under there. There's this one company I was working for. Well, the thing is, the company wound up changing names. I was there for 3.5 years, and I went through I went through 3 name changes and 5 general managers. But it was a Spanish-German consortium. So half the people there not many spoke German, but there were a lot of people there that Spanish was their first language. So go here. All right. And there was one time, I'm not sure how many people have seen the movie Robin Hood Men in Tights. There's this one scene where Robin is saying goodbye in multiple languages. And so I basically wound up replicating that scene one Friday, just as a silly joke. And we had a bunch of my coworkers there, and we also had one of our customers, which was from Bombardier, which is well on the north side. And I basically said adios or goodbye, adios, au revoir, and walked out. And I noticed that the person from Bombardier, his head snapped around, like, like, what did he say? And later, and but it's Friday and Friday, so I decided, yay, time to go. Then about, I would say, less than a month later, I was being silly again, and I did the same thing. Goodbye, adios, au revoir, and I got the same reaction out of the Canadian. And of course, on Monday, I'm like, all right, I need to find out why I got that reaction from him. And he looked at me and says, "You said it without an accent." And I'm like, I have a French Canadian accent? That's my silly story about my accent. I guess we have it's called a lazy S. I guess it's called. All right, got that there. Snap that off. Strip that out. There we go. Okay, the red is not solid. All right. These wires, I guess, are stranded wire, not just pure. So that's going to be a challenge to keep together. Well, this is not the smartest way, but all right, that's done. Need a clamp. Plastic clamp is probably not the smartest thing for soldering. A smaller clamp. It's one of those things. There's a clamp, a specific clamp I'm looking for, and is it within arm's reach? Nope. Oh, hello there, Curly. Sorry I wasn't looking at the monitor when you popped in. Québécois, correct. Which, from my understanding, sounds a lot like Old French. I'm not necessarily linguistics, but I know every now and then I come across a channel, YouTube channel that has, speaks about English words and all that, and every now and then France is thrown into the mix. All right, now we got the soldering iron. And the things with the overhead view, you normally see some of the stickers I've accumulated over the years. I think a lot of people know about, let's get the light right. Humanity Junction. He's the one that sort of poked and prodded me to start my own YouTube channel. And of course, there's Dan's Model Railroad Journey. I have other stickers, but they are currently, like a lot of things, buried on me. All right, I'm gonna go to the sink and add water to this. So chat amongst yourselves. Welcome to newer people, both Valleys 56 and hello there, Zoe. Thank you for coming in. I'm gonna leave the screen a little bit because I need to add water to this sponge. So, but it's one of those things of everyone pops in every now and then. So. All right, I am back with a wet earth sponge. I should have thrown on the soldering iron while I was at it, but we can do that now. There we go. It is on. Got the solder ready to go. One side is stripped. But I'll show you what I've gotten done so far with the locomotive. Let me switch to the overhead camera. And it's one thing I don't like about StreamYard. There's no nice way to transition cameras. You got to go into settings and change the camera that way. Okay. Nice, Zoe. It's one of those things that some people. Now, how long have you been doing this, Zoe? I've been doing this for about coming up on 3 years at this point. But what I've done is taking the model's name is called Dixie Belle. And it's basically a model of Sierra Nevada's number 3. Here's an undecorated one. I got a whole bunch of these particular models, mainly because I was grabbing them for spare parts. Because this make and model is not made anymore, and it's basically Sierra number 3. As you can see, the 3 is on there. It is in the Guinness Book of World Records as the most filmed locomotive in the world. It was in movies, TV shows. I would have to say the most, I guess, iconic version that is known for is Back to the Future 3. It was a model of the Sierra was the one that went off at the end of the movie that went off the train trestle. But during the things that when the actors were on the locomotive, that was Sierra number 3, which I believe they repainted it for, forgot what railroad, but I think it was 131. But okay, 22. All right. Yes, it was in Casey Jones, and it was in Petticoat Junction. And yeah, it's it was also, I forgot what movies besides Back to the Future, I forgot what other movies it was into, but it started out in the black and white era, and then and I don't think a diesel will ever get close to it because diesels are mass produced, so you got a bunch of them that look like the same. Steam engines, I think towards the end they might have figured out, hey, let's see a better way of building steam engines, but they never got to the mass produced portion of it. I gotta find out where the tips are for this thing is. I need a new tip. But the interesting thing about this particular model is that it's actually an OO scale model. It is not. It is not HO. So I think it's 176th, not 187th. I might need to find where the flux is. Get this at flux. There's the flux. But so everything's a little bit wider, and when you compare this to the prototype, it looks like a narrow gauge engine because it's running on HO scale track, but all right, well, this is the best I'm going to get it. I'm concentrating here, trying to solder things together as well. Solder is hot. Let's throw some All right, thread some flux on that. So it's going to be a little far away from the camera. Alright. Those look correctly soldered. And we will turn it off. There's a couple of times I've accidentally left that thing on, and well, this is a wooden house, so that's not a good idea. All right, the General or the Texas? Let's see. Can I get the locomotive used in the General Buster Keaton movie? I guess not specifically. I do have a. We're gonna have me take everything out, aren't you? I do have. The Mantua. I do have the Mantua General. The thing is, if I remember correctly, they never made a model of the Texas, and there are actually one of the special interest groups I'm with is the Civil War group, mainly because the era that I'm doing, a modern or a new steam engine during the Civil War could still be operating in my era. But I do have the bunch of Mantuas. I do have. There's a used Bachmann that I got, or at least I think it's Bachmann. Is it Bachmann? No, this is I think a late Rivarossi. I got Rivarossi both by Pulcher. I think is another one that was a they made stuff for Rivarossi. Okay, here's a Bachmann. You know, basically, I grabbed all the 404s. Interestingly, is that they, in HO scale, there's not that many. Everything's a version of an American style locomotive. You rarely do, the 10-wheeler that's here, that's 00, but it runs on HO scale track because look at the size of the motor that they used. And they had it in the cab, whereas with the Americans, they have a drive shaft down the center. From my understanding, the newest Bachmann actually does not has the motor in between the drivers. I think they use like an N-scale locomotive. Well, hello there, Anthony. Thank you for coming in. But yeah, I have a bunch of these. And the interesting thing is that the Americans are actually HO scale, whereas the 10-wheeler is 00 scale. I was also looking at, trying to find other OO scale ones. One was this one. This is a nickname the tea kettle. I was actually originally going to use this as the experiment on widening stuff, but unfortunately I found out that the drive wheels, drive wheels for these, they're 1/8 all the way through. For that particular model, it's 1/8 until it gets to where the drivers are, and then there's like it's stepped in a little bit. I'm assuming that was done for ease of manufacture. You just on there, and it's theoretically engaged. So I'm still planning on making the experiment as a switcher engine. There's massively things wrong with this. Like the stack is not over this over the cylinder. As you can see, the steam dome's bent a little bit, and so is this. So the mold, when this was made, the mold was definitely not had seen healthier days. Take out the coal bin in the back. Also shorten the cab a little bit, get rid of all the rivets because it would be a wooden cab. But it's one of those things of that's not the high priority right now. The high priority is get this one working. But all right. It's so hot. So all right, well, yeah, the General has a tendency to be made in multiple scales because of how famous it is. Mainly because the quote pursuing locomotive was multiple locomotives. First was the Yona. I forgot what the second one was, and then there was the Texas. So let's see. Let's go back to the main camera. All right. So, all right. I think my cordless mouse needs a battery. Yeah, train buff boy, Zataro Eastern Rail fan. She's, I think she's relatively new to YouTube, or at least she's relatively new to the HO scale group. So there was a lot of things with the Texas or with the General because it was so famous. Well, I'm doing fairly well. I'm actually in the process of getting ready to hand everything off to Raybo Bell, who's doing Sidetrack Sundays. Yeah, it's one of those things of I when it comes to trains, I sort of like the older and quirkier ones. All right. Well, you have yourself a good night, Andy. And I'm, as I said, getting ready to log off myself to hand it over to Raybo Bell. doing Sidetrack Sunday. It starts at 8. That's why my schedule is sort of kind of odd from 6:45 to 7:45. Basically, let people have they can get off and take a bathroom break or grab a snack or do anything along those lines. Instead of going one instead of going from one live stream to one live stream to one live stream. But all right, well, I would have to say for Valleys 56 at Double X, and for Train Buff Boy 47, welcome. If you want to come again, I have a. You notice there's a lot of people with the blue wrench and all that. It was an idea I got off of Anthony Dodge. The only difference is that instead of making everybody a moderator, I wait until people if I recognize them from other streams or something like that. It's like if they come here for the first time and then that's the only time that they come, sort of silly to make them a moderator. That's my opinion. Film trains at Emporia, Virginia. Interesting. Now, do you also do farm equipment, Eugene? All right. Thank you very much, Valleys, and I hope to see you more times here. So nice. All right. Yeah, because farm equipment is basically. Yeah, Jerry streams. I think you've been on other streams also, Zoe. Nice, thank you, Valleys. And I try to be here every Sunday at 6:45 to do an hour of either babbling like I am now or working on the railroad. And there's a lot of times that all right, thank you. And that's one of the things that this community that we have. Some channels are much larger than others. I think Sidetrack Sunday It was, if I remember correctly, started by Rainbow Bell, who's going to be on tonight. But he never really. When Heath from Humanity Junction was sort of, who is Zoe? Well, I'll let Zoe have her identify herself. If you can actually see the icons, it might be slightly obvious. But, if you're on a phone, the pictures are only that big, so you might not be able to. There she is. All right, well, I'll let everyone go to do what they need to do. So I believe that the world needs more love. So find your passion, add some silliness to it, and is that Zobro? All right, and yes, like add some silliness to it and spread it around. All right, bye.